With Endgame behind us and the Infinity Saga complete, there are so many different ways that the MCU could go moving forward. There are hundreds of different stories and characters that they could explore, and I for one am so excited to see what the future holds. Among these characters is a young man named Richard Rider, also known as Nova, the human rocket. And Nova is a character that I would really love to see introduced in the MCU, and there has been so much setup for it. So in the hopes that he is brought into the movies, today I thought I'd answer the question, who is Nova?
I've already met Captain Buckethead.
Able to carry 2 buckets of water in a single... Name's Nova, creep.
Nova Creep. Catchy.
Nova, the human rocket.
Okay.
Nova was originally created by comic book writer Marv Wolfman in 1966, but this was a completely different character than the Nova we have today. This Nova was named Dantine, and he was an alien doctor who found a spaceship would contain pills that gave him a different superpower every 5 minutes. I mean, just good on you, comics, teaching the kids all the wonderful alive lessons, like do drugs become a superhero, text and drive become a superhero, or just straight up be just terrible people and become superheroes. The original run of The Man Called Nova ran for 25 issues, from September of 1976 to May of 1979, and then the various plotlines were wrapped up in issues of Fantastic Four and Rom the Space Knight. From there, Nova just sort of dropped off the face of the earth for about 10 years, until finally in The Mighty Thor issue 411, he returned as an original member of the New Warriors. He stuck around with the New Warriors for 79 issues, and from there had 3 more of his own series as well as a miniseries, and a starring role in volumes 2 and 3 of the New Warriors and the 6-issue Annihilation miniseries, for a grand total of 88 issues, along with guest appearances in other series such as The Amazing Spider-Man. Nova also appeared as a starring member of the Guardians of the Galaxy and the New Avengers at some point, but that's enough about his creation. Let's get into the story.
Now it's my turn.
Accessing origin.
Richard Rider was born in Hempstead, New York, and he was your average, everyday, run-of-the-mill kid. You know, he went to high school, made friends, and did, kid things. But that all changed when the last surviving Centurion of Xandar's Nova Corps chose Rider to inherit his powers and become Nova Prime. You see, Ramande's planet, Xandar, had just been destroyed by the intergalactic pirate Zor, and Day had been mortally wounded in the battle. He tracked Zor to Earth, but because of his injuries he was unable to enact his revenge. Well, maybe revenge isn't the right word. Justice kind of sounds better. With no other options, he transferred his power onto an unsuspecting human in the planet below, hoping that whoever inherited the power would be willing to take up his cause and would be worthy of the immense power that they had just received. And just, Rondé, what in the flippity dang heck were you thinking? I mean, I get that you're dying and you don't really have any other options, but just giving immense cosmic power to any random human on the Earth, I mean, I can think of so many ways that could go terribly wrong. But luckily, this power did not end up with one of the numerous supervillains, or anybody who would become a supervillain for that matter. It ended up with Richard Rider. Because of all this power merging with his body, Rider was put into a coma and was thus rushed to the hospital. Whilst Rider was in a coma, Day telepathically linked the two of their minds and explained to Rider what had happened as well as what his mission was. And with that, the kid awoke and was discharged from the hospital. Okay, so I just had to go change some pool filters. Then you should give it some. Okay. And I accidentally got all sprayed. I don't know how much you can see it. But I'm all wet now, so I'm gonna change. So I'm gonna be wearing a different shirt. So just a minute, be right back. Okay, so where were we? He tried to resume a normal life, but that proved easier said than done, as just the next day, while Rider was chilling in his room, Day transmitted him the Centurion armor, and Rider discovered that he now possessed superhuman strength, near invulnerability, and the power to fly. So yeah, it's kind of hard to be a regular boy when you have crazy awesome superpowers. He barely had a chance to test out the suit's powers when the radio circulation in the suit's helmet alerted him that Zor was on a rampage in central New York City, which I feel like is the worst place you could attack in the Marvel Universe. But then again, he doesn't run into any trouble from the Avengers or any other heroes, which makes them all kind of feel a little bit useless when you think about it. I mean, there's this giant 20-foot alien wreaking havoc on the city, but they're all like, nah, it's good. Ryder does show up, however, and fights the beast, but is rather unsuccessful. Luckily, Day is able to use the telepathic link to lock onto Zor's location and transports him back to the ship and destroys both him and the monster at once. Now, with no mentor, Ryder takes on the name Nova, the human comet, and fights crime on Earth for a period, fighting costume criminals such as Powerhouse, Comet, and the Corruptor, three supervillains who I'm sure you are very familiar with. After a relatively short career of fighting crime on Earth, Ryder discovered Ramen Day's ship orbiting the planet, and along with Powerhouse, Comet, Crimebuster, Dr. Sun, and the Sphinx, he used the ship to travel to a newly reconstructed Xandar, where they fought in a war against the Skrulls, and with the help from Rom the Space Knight, the Skrulls were defeated. Eventually, Ryder requested to return home to Earth, because a life of intergalactic warfare had become tiresome, and he hoped to return to his normal life and reunite with his high school friends. And also maybe because the series had been cancelled. That might have something to do with it. His request was accepted on the condition that he relinquishes power, to which he accepted, and returned to Earth as once again a real boy. And that's where his story ends. Just kidding. Probably not put that in. That was dumb. But returning to a normal life was not as easy as Ryder had expected. Because he had become Nova and went to fight on Xandar, he had never finished high school, and was then only able to get a job working in a fast food restaurant, and was only barely able to make enough money to get by. He was often depressed and deeply regretted his decision to give up his powers, and he hoped more than anything that he could find a way to regain what he lost. But in the meantime, he was just stuck picking up the pieces of the life that he had left behind. Turns out, all he needed was to be thrown off a roof, and that's just what happened. One day, while he was just minding his own business, he was kidnapped by Night Thrasher and promptly thrown off of a roof. Thank goodness this reignited his powers, and he was once again the man called Nova. It turns out, Night Thrasher had been researching Nova and determined that the best way to regain his powers was to jumpstart them. And Night Thrasher was putting together a team called the New Warriors, and he wanted Nova to be part of it. Eventually, Ryder accepted his offer after calming down about the fact that this dude had just thrown him off a roof. Nova was a very valuable member of the New Warriors for many years to come, and even had a romantic relationship with teammate Namorita. But Nova struggled to gain back his respect from the public after his long absence, even being dubbed Kid Nova by the media. And it wasn't until a few years and a suit upgrade later that he was again seen as the hero he had once been. Unbeknownst to him, in his time without powers, Xandar was once again destroyed, only this time it was by Nebula. Eventually, Ryder met Garth Saul, a Nova Centurion who had been driven insane by absorbing too much of the Nova Force. Saul sought more power, and so he stripped Ryder of his, and it transported him back to Xandar. Saul is defeated, and then Ryder, using the full power of the Nova Force, is able to restore Xandar and its population to their former glory. Now, with Xandar reborn, even though he has more power than ever, Ryder is reduced to simply being a member of the Nova Corps. He struggled with both following orders as well as balancing his life between a member of the New Warriors and being a Centurion Prime. Eventually, Ryder meets an alternate version of himself, Nova 00, who helps him develop his powers and prepares him to stop the Deathstorm bomb and save the Earth. Ryder is successful in stopping the bomb and saving the Earth, but had to ignore a direct call of the Nova Corps in order to do so, and is once again stripped of his powers. This time, however, he is only powerless for a matter of weeks. The powers were given to Garth Saul of all people, and I guess he was just really bad with them and just died, giving the powers back to Ryder.
wizardry is this? What the Power Stone? Missing? But how?
They call me the human rocket for a reason, goofy grape.
Then we get to the event in which Nova probably played the biggest role, Annihilation. And Annihilation is far too complicated of a story to explain in this video, so I will give a very abridged version. But if you want to learn more, I highly recommend Comics Explained video on it, which you can watch by clicking the link in the description or following the iCard. But wait till the end of this video first. Basically, what you need to know to understand Annihilation are three things: Annihilus, the Negative Zone, and the Annihilation Wave. Annihilus is this big, scary, bug-looking dude, yeah. He's the bad guy. The Negative Zone is an alternate dimension and the home of Annihilus, and the Annihilation Wave is Annihilus's army of giant bug creature things from the Negative Zone. So basically, Annihilus and his army break free of the Negative Zone and go on a rampage throughout the universe, wiping out all lives, thus the Annihilation Wave. Nova and a group of heroes, including who you probably know as the Guardians of the Galaxy, Star-Lord, Gamora, and Drax, lead an offensive against the wave. A number of villains also fought against Annihilus in this war, including Ronan the Accuser, Super Skrull, and Galactus. And one villain who you may have heard of named Thanos teamed up with Annihilus, so there's that. Also, just a quick side note, this whole thing happened during the same time as Civil War. So all the Earth heroes were too busy in their squabble to go and save the universe. In the end, Galactus wipes out a large portion of the Annihilation Wave, and Nova and Annihilus fight one-on-one. Nova determines that the only hole in Annihilus's armor is his mouth, and thus plunges his hands down his throat, and yeah, that. And with that, I think you have a pretty good idea of who Nova is. Well, Richard Rider anyway. There have been two other main characters to take on the role of Nova, but they are for another day.
Nova may be rough around the edges, but this human rocket is ready to launch an attack against the best the bad guys have to offer. Hero approved.
Would you like to see Nova brought into the MCU? Let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and share it with your friends. I'm sure they'd enjoy it too. And if you want to be sure you never miss a video from me in the future, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. And you can click over here to watch a video about who is Black Knight, or you can click over here to watch another Marvel video from me. But anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. And Day had been mortally wounded in the battle. Dang it, not mortally wounded, you fart face.